I had my own startup, probably the first company that did machine learning and analytics into security. Before that, everything was rule-based. My company was acquired by RSA, and after a few years, it became the second largest product line in RSA. About 3 years ago, I moved to Microsoft, and I'm leading the cybersecurity in Azure, and also leading the strategy together with Dan and Barat, our organization. Okay, so let's start. Just a second. This is okay. So first of all, in cybersecurity, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, it's such an evolving world. And it's really a never dull moment. This is just an example of the most recent headlines that you have, and it's just going to continue. Why? Because every aspect of our life is controlled by cyber, from the things that we do at home, the things that we do at work, medicine, traffic, air traffic, the toys of our children, everything controlled by cyber. Therefore, the cyber is becoming a very convenient field in media in order to attack and to get information. I'm going to look at several trends just very briefly. And we all know about the cyber criminals that are really the main goal is life is just to make money. It's a very commercial and very economical situation, a motivation. Then we have the activists that many times it looks that really what they care is about justice or whatever their own perception of justice, and they like Robin Hood, or they want to hurt someone that they think are bad, etc. And of course, we have cyber wars. And cyber wars, it's not only about stealing data, which is most of the information. When you do cyber wars, you can also influence the physical world, not just stealing data, which is always helps you to do, and as many states are involved with that. I would say all states are involved with that, but also about doing action that the cyber influence the physical world. And again, all is this happening because there is no aspect in our life that is not affected by cyber. So I want to look at several examples, and probably most of you heard the whole commotion between the Democratic National Convention and Russia. Did Russia do it? Did some criminals that wanted to steal the data and to make money of that? It's not really clear whether it was state-sponsored or some criminals that did it, okay? But it's not only the Democratic National Convention, which you all heard. There was, NATO was attacked, and the Bundestag was attacked, and the NSA. So those attacks are happening all the time. And yes, everybody is doing that, and everybody should be prepared for that, okay? But what I want to look next is actually a case that I found an interesting case. Does anybody know who Anna Senpai is? Okay. So Anna Senpai is supposedly the writer of the Mirai DDoS attack. You probably heard about the Mirai DDoS attack. It was one of the biggest DDoS attack. It was about 2 months ago. And everybody was attacked. I mean, PayPal and Spotify and Twitter. It was probably one of the biggest DDoS attack in the history. And in the beginning, it looked like someone who is an activist, right? Because they want to get all those, there was no immediate financial beneficial for doing that, which is sort of associated with the cyber criminals. Again, the blurring line between cyber criminals and activists and wars. Not only that, it's really interesting to understand the Mirai attack. So how do it's two things interesting about this attack. First of all, the logistic of that, how it was conducted. And second, which we'll get at it very soon, what was the motivation? And again, I will promise to answer who was Anna Senpai. So what happened with the Mirai attack is that it leveraged many IoT devices that most of us have all over the world. Cameras, baby monitors, refrigerators, etc. Now, the problem with those IoT devices, they really make our life very, very easy, because it's very easy to check from, to turn on the air condition or the camera from remote. However, they are connected to the internet. And many times, because they look so innocent and not alarming, nobody installs security. Products there. So they are literally very open to the internet. So what happened is that the Mirai attack leveraged that, and via the internet, they install a lot of vicious software in cameras and in baby monitors, and that gave them a huge computing power. Okay? So using all those IoT devices, they could generate huge IoT devices that was the biggest one in the history. And for a while, people don't understand what was the motive, because every time you investigate a crime, and this is what we do in cybersecurity, right? We investigate a crime, but we do it technologically, and we make sure that our system are working like a police detective. So it was really interesting to understand what was the motive, okay? And finally, it was discovered. Because Anna Senpai was not actually Anna Senpai. Obviously, it was a fake name. Anna Senpai actually was a businessman in the US. He actually went to Rutgers University. I have his all details, but I don't want to disclose it here. And what is interesting that this guy, okay, definitely not a woman by the name of Anna, had his own network anti-DDoS company. He used to give services for anti-DDoS. So obviously, generating a big DDoS attack is very, very good for his business. So as you can see, something that looks like activist generated or anonymous generated attack is actually a very business calculated attack, okay? And that's what I want to say, that is, we as the companies and Microsoft and new companies are going to be attacked. And many times the motivation is going to be different, and it's very important to understand the motivation, but the most important thing is to make sure that we are all protected from this attack. Okay, so now I want to get now deeper into the cloud, because you heard today a lot about the Microsoft strategy, and I would look to focus on the cloud. Because I think the cloud, the reason is twofold. First of all, because I'm responsible for the cybersecurity in the cloud and many of the products, so obviously it's very close to my heart. But I also believe that many of the problems that we have, solving it in the cloud is actually a much more effective way. That's one reason. Another reason, I think there is a lot of fear from going to the cloud, because people are thinking, oh, in the cloud, there's so much data, it will attract all the, it will attract all the thieves, okay? And it's much safer in my home, in my own premise. So this is a little bit equivalent, like, a few hundred years ago, people were afraid to put money in the bank. Thought it's much safer to put money under the matrix, because the bank will attract a lot of thieves. But it's all clear that the banks has much stronger and effective means to defend our money than under the matrix, and it's very similar in the cloud. Okay, so let's do, and of course, I don't preach that we put everything in the cloud, but we all live in a hybrid environment where we have a combination of cloud and on-premise, and that's exactly what we are doing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the move to the cloud. So first of all, the move to the cloud is inevitable. That's true. Many years ago, just being in the on-prem, it was very controlled, very safe, no internet, no BYOD, okay? But this world is gone and never to return, okay? No matter how strict we want to be with ourselves or our customers or our employees, this world is gone, okay? And more than that, I think that in 2020, people who are not using the cloud, it's like not using the internet today, okay? The second thing is that the question now of many companies and enterprises is not whether to move to the cloud. The move to the cloud is inevitable, but how to do it in a way that it's efficient, in a way that they maximize the benefit that they get out of that, and of course, that they have the trust and the security that they need. Because we're Microsoft, we are our mission is to have productivity. But if you don't trust us, and if you don't trust our product, we won't be able, you are not going to use it. That's why we spend so much about security and about trust, which you saw before, okay? The second thing is that, another thing that in 2020 will happen, and this is of course the major analysts that predict that, is that people will, there will be no distinction between public cloud and private cloud, but this is the way to do business, okay? So we have to be ready for this transformation. It's not there yet, it's happening, you can see it as cloud is big, but a lot of us still have only on-prem, and I really encourage you to think how we can leverage the power of the cloud, okay? So with those trends, let's see what are the pains in moving to the cloud, okay? So one night, when you have things on the premise, everything is controlled, right? It's all under you. You know everything that happens. You know everything that you own. It's very controlled. When you move to the cloud, then things become a nightmare, okay? And you saw some of the example before. I have, my employees can contact it from all over the world. They have BYOD, they bring mobile. I have applications that are in the public cloud, in other SaaS applications, etc. So management is increasingly distributed, and for the people who manage it, it's sometimes a nightmare, okay? So this is a big pain, okay? Also, cloud environments are very dynamic. They grow, they shrink. Your on-prem environment is very stable, okay? But one of the great things about the cloud, that you consume it as much as you need, okay? So it's very dynamic, and this flexibility is great for the business, because you reduce your TCO, okay? But this dynamic behavior is making difficult to understand at any given point of time what are the assets that you have in the cloud. So, and the last thing, and this is true also for on-prem, not only for the cloud, attacks become more and more complex, and you saw tons of examples of that on one hand. On the other hand, the security solutions that we unitely have as the security industry are still struggling with security systems that many times are silos, that are not connected, that are very noisy, that you have to look at many products and to pick the information by yourself. Okay, so there is a lot of challenge here. Okay, and in addition, there are also attacks that are specific to the cloud. So we have to make sure that we give very specific solution for threat detection in the cloud as well. Okay, so let's continue, and let's remind you some of the principles, but both Dan and Bernard talked about it. Okay, so we believe in Microsoft in the continuous cycle of protect, prevent, detect, and respond. Okay, and they're all connected with each other. Okay, and they all to have to be integrated with each other. Okay. Another thing that we talked about our unique approach. As you saw in Dan's presentation, there is many security products that we have in Microsoft, and this is what we call our security platform. okay? We also have a lot of intelligence. Intelligence that we got from the intelligence graph, intelligence that we get from all our products, from the deep research that we are doing, et cetera. So intelligence is a very important component. And partners. It's not a war that can be, to me, fighting cyber threats, it's a war. And it's a war that cannot be fought by one vendor, okay? It's a war that we in the industry have to make coalition and to be partners, and that's how we are going to win it together. And that's exactly our approach. So what I want to do now is actually going into Azure Security Center. Azure Security Center is one of, which is now being hybrid, is our security, our comprehensive security solution for Azure deployments. And by the way, it's hybrid. So it acknowledges the fact that not only you're in Azure, but you have on-premise data center as well, okay? So first, remember the pains that we discussed, the lack of visibility, the fact that you don't know how many assets you have in the cloud. So the first thing that we want to do is to make sure that you are the CISO or the SecOps or the CIO that's responsible for the cloud, have visibility and that understand what are the assets that you have in the cloud, okay? Another thing is what we called make sure that we enable to leverage one of the best assets of the cloud, which is the ability to do it in a cloud scale, to grow, to shrink, etc. And you will see how we give you this visibility, and it's automatically adapted when your cloud solution are expanding or shrinking, okay? And of course, to make sure that the cyber threats that your company is being faced in the cloud and in the on-prem data center are being served in the best possible way. Okay? So that's the gist of Azure Security Center. And let's see some examples. So the first thing, remember the prevent, detect, and respond. So the first pillar that we approach in Azure Security Center is the pillar of prevent and manage. Because first we want to make sure that you have a full control of your assets in the cloud and you understand what is the security posture of your assets in the cloud, okay? So what we do there, we enable you to configure policies, how you want to prevent it. We discover your assets in the cloud. We give you visibility into them. When we see a vulnerability, we recommend you how to close that vulnerability, and many times we do it automatically. Not only that, it's a very strong partner game because we work with our partners. Again, it's not only Microsoft solution that we recommend, and you'll see soon in the demo, okay? We give you the best possibility, and sometimes Microsoft, for this particular control, is not the best, or it's at least as best as some others. So we give you the choice, because we strongly believe in this freedom of choice, okay? Let's see how, and the continuous monitoring, as I said, this is really to enable the cloud scale, because when your cloud shrink or expand, we are continuous monitoring and we update the recommendation, we update the visibility. You're always on track of what is the current situation of your cloud assets. Okay, just to put a little bit, talk a little bit about the partners, because I think it's a relatively new approach. First of all, in the past, it used to be that Microsoft tell you, okay, use our stuff or nothing else, okay? And this is not our approach anymore. It's a coalition, okay? So we work with many partners, and you will see it, and we create a better together story. And it's really a win-win. Why we do that? Because we feel that the more signals we will have from other partners and from our security solution, we will be in a better position to defend your deployments in the cloud. And why is it good for the partners? Because we recommend them. And as you will see, we recommend them just in time. It's not just sending them into, okay, let's go to the marketplace, buy things that you need. No, when we discover a vulnerability, we say, okay, this is the partners that are relevant for you for this particular vulnerability, and you can deploy it right away. Okay, so now what I want to do, just to give you a short demo, because I think a lot of the theoretical stuff that I said, you will be able to see it, how it's working in real time, okay? So let's go to the demo. Okay, what happened? Just a second. Why it didn't work? You know what?
Did you project?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Let me do it again. Okay, that's ridiculous.
It's extend or?
Yeah. It is.
Yes. Try again. Windows P.
I think my laptop is really excited about the fact that it's in Paris, and great. Thank you. Okay. So this is the Azure Security Center. This is actually what you see is the Azure environment. If you press here security, you get into the security, Azure Security Center. So the Azure Security Center, in a way, it's divided into 3 pillars. The first pillar is the prevention. Is everything that you have to do in order to protect from attacks, okay? Like making sure that all your perimeter and other stuff is correct, etc. Of course, we know it's not enough, but it's keeping your hygiene. So in the same way that you're in a room in the museum, install a very sophisticated volume detection system, it doesn't make sense to do it if you didn't put doors and locks on the doors. Okay, so this is first starts with let's do the basic stuff that we need to do, get visibility, and make sure that we close all the, and we recommend you what to do, how to make it safer, okay? And then, of course, after we do that, it's not enough because we assume breach, so we have a very sophisticated analytical-based, machine learning-based detection. But let's first start from the prevention and also show you how we do it from, with the partners. Okay, so what it does first, okay, it gives you an assessment of your assets in the cloud, okay, and it gives you a recommendation. The first thing, let's keep the hygiene, okay? So it gives you a recommendation about your virtual machines, what to do with your networking layer, SQL and data, and applications, okay? Of course, you can set a lot of policies, so all the recommendations will be figured for the policies, etc. But let's start with some recommendation. Actually, let's start with the networking, okay? So in the networking, okay, it tells me that I have next generation firewall not installed, okay, in several of my machines. Okay, so now I go to see and I'll get more details. And now he asked me, okay, until now it turned out that I used Checkpoint next generation firewall to install. So he told me, do you want to use the current one, or you can want to create new, okay? And then we'll give you some of our partners, some other partners in addition to Checkpoint. Well, I don't know why it's so slow, okay? But you can see that it gives you some other partners that we are working with them. Now, again, the big difference that some of our competitors have, they send you to the marketplace, is here and just in place. We identify vulnerability. We offer you right away how to solve it with the partners. Of course, if you press a threat, we'll do an automatic provisioning, so it's very easy. Okay, so this is example with the networking. Now let's go back. Let's go back to SQL and data. Okay, and here, for example, we discovered that you have several databases that are not protected with the editing and the data masking in SQL. So we notify you, and we show you how to do that. Okay, another example. Applications, okay? For example, here we have several applications that are endpoint that don't have WAF installed. So if we press that, it will give me the ability to choose some of the WAFs. By the way, sometimes we recommend Microsoft solutions, like soon we are going to have a WAF for Microsoft. It will add to the list, but it has the same weight. You, as the customer, can choose if you want to choose something from Microsoft or from another vendor. The nice thing about that no matter where you choose, Microsoft solution, or within that, or a partner solution, what we are going to do with you automatically is consume all the signals from the different Microsoft solution and the different partner solution and fuse it together in order to give you a better detection. I will go into that shortly. Because the more data we have, and we have a lot of data that we collect within Microsoft from all the intelligence that you saw, but from all the different products that we have, okay? But if you add to that information from our partners, okay? And think about it, what power we have in order to give you the best analytics. Okay, so just another thing before we go back to the presentation. Okay, second. Okay, so for example, here I can see all my partner solutions that are currently installed, and I can see what, how to manage them. I can also have policies. I can set many policies. Like all the recommendations that you see here are subject to policies that, let's say, the IT security decide. And it's very easy for the administrator to set it. You can control how the prevention policies, how the email notification, etc. So there is a very rich management aspect to that. Okay, now I want to get back to the presentation. And now I want to talk about detection, and I'll go back later to show our advanced detection. Oops. Okay, so detection. So we talked about before about prevention and management. Yes, this is what we do. And it's necessary for every security professionals to make sure that they do anything that they do for prevent. But we all know that no matter how well we defend our house, if someone wants to break, they will break in. And that's why we have to assume breach. And assume breach rely on the fact, okay, someone actually may be breaking into the enterprise. But our job as a security professionals to make sure that we detect them before they did any harm, okay? And that's exactly the gist of detection. So let's go deep a little bit of how we do detection. And as this major figure in FBI said, all the companies are being breached, okay? It's just a question if you know that you're being breached. Actually, I divide it to three. Those that don't know, those that know and talk about it, and those that know and don't talk about it, okay? But everybody is being attacked and breached. Okay, so let's look about some of the unique stuff that we are doing in detection. So first of all, detection, we obviously heavily rely on analytics, and we have a very strong log analytics system and search engine and analytics infrastructure. That's one thing that we have. So we look heavily at threat intelligence, okay? And we do a lot of behavioral analytics. You heard before about behavioral analytics in UABA, in the user domain. We are doing in the cloud a lot of behavioral analytics on the network and on the VM level and on all the entities that are in the data center. And of course, we cooperate with our friends from ATA and others about identity behavioral analytics. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing that we was doing was, of course, anomaly detection, and there were some examples. I mean, you cannot do good detection without anomaly detection, without profiling, because it's true for people. Dan gave an example of how if he travels a lot, if he kept logging from every day from a different place, it's okay. And for other people, it's not. It's the same thing for the entities, for VM, for network. So we profile the behavior of the entities in the data center, okay? And then we learn what is a typical behavior for them. And when there is an anomaly, we flag it. Okay? The next thing that we are doing, as I said, the partners, we consume their signals, and it's very important feedback to our general analytical engine. By the way, I talk too fast? I'm okay? Okay. The most interesting that we do is fusion. Fusion is actually getting all this information together and creating 5 minutes. Wow. I really have to do it fast. Okay, so let's look a little bit. So I'll talk about fusion in a second, but I want to talk about another thing that we are doing, okay? The kill chain, okay? The kill chain is a technique that was invented with Lockheed Martin a few years ago, how to do a manual analysis of attacks, okay? And it's really looking at, but until now it was applied manually. What we are doing, we are applying it, we build an algorithm that leverage the kill chain, and we build attacks, because our idea is to take all those signals and all the things and build you a story, build you an attack in order to reduce the noise that you're getting, but also so you will be able to understand what is the attack, not what is, it's like, we show you the forest and not show you all the trees, okay? Because you first have to see what is your top level attack that is threatening you, okay? And so let's do it fast. Another thing that we do, this is an example how one cloud protects another cloud. I'll go to it in a second. What happened, we have Azure, okay? But we also have Office 365. And many times we see attacks on Azure or attacks that are coming from customers in Azure, okay, that are directed at Office 365 customers, okay? So we have the two ends we have those two clouds, okay? So we can right away see that something is happening and protect the two clouds, okay? Another thing that we have, and this is another advantage that we have in the cloud, machine learning, because we heavily utilize machine learning in analytics. And most of you know that the more data, good data, that you have into a machine learning model building, the better the detection, the better the prediction that the machine learning algorithm can do. And we have a lot of this information. So you saw some in the morning, but I want to add some of it. For example, we have information from automated attack bots that goes into Microsoft Azure. We have domain experts that contribute information to us constantly. We have labeled data that comes from the different clouds. We have our own research that protect Azure, and they all contributed tag data. And of course, partners. So that's why the machine learning that we apply in Azure has such wide breadth of visibility, and that's why it can be so effective. Okay, let's talk about deep dive into fusion, because this word was used several times today, and I just want to make sure that we have the deeper understanding, okay? So in a way, fusion is to to get a lot of signals from many places and to build one story, one attack line. And how do we do that? So first of all, we get a lot of information. And if you see that, this is all our security, Microsoft security products, which some of them Dan showed before, okay? So this gives us a lot of information. We have a lot of information from our partners. We have a lot of information from intelligence, threat intelligence, et cetera. But what is also unique for us, okay, and especially as we are top of OMS, which is Operation Management System, we have a lot of operational data. This is very important to Fusion. Why? Because if we see that there are machines that are connected to each other because there is some kind of a cluster, okay, or their database that connected to this VM and they have some kind of a micro-segmentation. So if a machine or database is attacked within that cluster, more likely other entities within that cluster will be affected. And that's what we call operation intelligence. So if you combine operation intelligence, security intelligence, threat intelligence, and information to the partner, that's how we can be so effective. And now, so why do we do fusion? So first of all, it's one of the things that it does, it boosts low fidelity signals. For example, if from all those sources, some source has low fidelity signal because it looks a little bit suspicious, but not enough, okay? But if we now fuse it with other signals from all those sources, all of a sudden we can see that it wasn't a low fidelity signal. It wasn't something small and not interesting. It was actually a part of an attack this was only the first part of it, okay? The second advantage is reducing the false positive, because when we do fusion, we can see, okay, there was some noise in the background. It's actually not part of a real attack because we look at so much information. This is probably was a local noise. We can ignore it. Because the most important thing, as we said before, is not to dump the SecOps with non-important information. We'd like you to look just on the right, just in the right threats and to make sure that to attend to them first. Okay. So I want to talk about the cloud effect. I won't have time now. So what I want just to briefly do is to show you how we leverage it all together, how we build an attack, and later to show you a demo of that, okay? So this is actually an attack. It's a real attack. It was attack that we discovered for one of our customers. Of course, you're not going to see any names, okay? And the attack, like a advanced persistent threat attack, it's a multi-layer attack. It's not just one bang and that's it. It really has multi-layers. And let's look at these multi-layers, okay? So first, the reconnaissance stage. This is one of the first stages in the kill chain analysis. And someone was actually doing port scanning, okay, in order to discover vulnerabilities, okay? By itself, it's not an interesting action. But then, actually a few days later, okay, the attacker probably started doing, he used the reconnaissance stage in order to build a sort of the candidate list for attacks, okay? That's it did in the book and the background, okay? And then they start, okay, doing based on the information that they collect in the reconnaissance stage, they're trying to do some brute force attacks, SQL brute force attacks, because they want to do some injection, okay? And then they actually made some progress, and they're trying to advance to the next phase, okay? And then what they do, they install their malware, okay? And what they do next is communicating with the command of the crawl in order, of course, to do data exfiltration and to stop it now, okay? So this is the whole attack, okay? Now, it has multi-phases. Now, if we just stopped it here, that would be very bad, right? Because they would attempt another time, Okay? So it's very important that we connect all these pieces together, and this is exactly the fusion that we made from all these seemingly independent steps, one attack, one story, which is really, that's what is the threat to organization. So is it clear how we do that? Okay, so I will do it very, very fast. I don't have time to do all the demo, but I just want you to show you that this is not just here, it's also in the product. So let me do that in a second. Okay, so this is Azure Security Center, and now let's go to the security alerts. Okay, so what you see here is the security alerts that we need, and obviously the doing by prioritization. And this sign on the left means that it's an incident. It means that it's not an alert. It's something that we built into an incident and attack timeline. Okay, so let's open it. And first of all, it gives you some background information about the attack. But what is interesting to go to the individual steps that we tie together for you in order to show that we have an attack. So as you saw in the PowerPoint, first there was an SQL injection that was blocked, actually. So the WAF blocked it, but we got an alert that was a failed SQL injection. By itself, it's not interesting, but because we were able to afterwards tie to a failed brute force attack that was attempted, and that was a RDP force, and there was some kind of a suspicious communication and a process that blocked. By the way, this we got from Defender, okay? And there were multiple accounts that were queried, and that was a network communication to a malicious non-CNC. That all of it, our fusion algorithm, which are, by the way, machine learning based, brought an incident. And now, instead of going off all the different pieces, you can start top down, and it saves a lot of time. Okay? So I can show you also a lot of the investigation and the graphical investigation that we have, but I'm running out of time already. So I think what it was important to show is how the strategy is actually being implemented. I don't even have time to wrap up, but I'm here, so I'll be very happy to give you more information, and I thank you for your time.